Hey traders, how you doing? It is July 14th, 2022. Doing a quick update here. Markets have been down, as you all know if you've been in the markets. Let's take a look here at the charts. Let's cut right to it. You'll see, again, my normal four section broadcast here. I got the daily chart up here on the upper left, the 60-minute chart on the right, upper right. The lower left quadrant is the weekly chart, and then the right side is the 15 minutes. So we primarily focus as a swing traders and looking for ideas when you're scanning for ideas of day trade. You focus on really the daily charts and the 60 charts for day trading, and for swing trading is more of the daily and the weekly charts. So here where my crosshairs are is where 2022 started. And you can see we topped out really right toward the end there of December. November, December, where we fell apart and we've moved down considerably, retraced back up here to this pivot point on the weekly chart, and then had a nice move about 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row. Slight retracement here. You can see about the 20% retracements, come down, made a new low. And at this point, it's kind of toggling, oscillating, if you will, at around the 50, 60% retracement at the very highs, and then coming back and testing the lows on the weekly chart. Now on the daily chart, as we draw this out, and this is again looking at the QQQ, you'll see the move down here. So we are clearly in a downtrend. So the question is, does the downtrend continue, or does it stop here, and do we move either back up to the previous highs, or do we make more of a deeper retracement like we did here, where we went and retested this pivot and retest this pivot here? Jury's out. Right now, obviously, what I'm doing is I'm looking to leg into more short positions. Now, I know shorting is not something that a lot of people do. If you're newer to the game, you may be fearful of it. You may, if you don't have a margin account, you really can't do it. So the other option is you could buy, put options or sell calls, which is also very, very risky. I know a lot of people say puts are the way to go. From a percentage gain perspective, you can make massive percentage gains. However, you can lose 100% of what you put into it. So don't be fooled into that. It's a very dangerous thing where you've got to get your timing down, and timing is everything, as you know. So dabble in options if you want, or what you could do is buy some of these inverse ETFs. So for example, the QQQ, the opposite of this, and which I've built a position in, is this SQQQ. So you see the weekly chart is completely destroyed, so don't even bother with that. But here's the daily chart. Let me just draw this out a little bit so we can take a look at it here. You can see we are now uptrending on this thing, although it is sloppy and whippy, right? We've got giant candles, lots of overlap. We put a low in here, made a high, came down, higher low, higher high, then a lower low, tornadic formation where you got an expanding range, and now it's consolidating within this area. I think on this SQQQ, if it breaks past 61 here, where my hashtag is, or my crosshairs, that's what I meant to say. I think we'll get an expansion. It'll go over these highs, and that's where my lean is now. My lean is we're going to go lower. I don't see this. We may get some spikes down here, but any spike down is an opportunity to buy more. So I'm nibbling in as it comes down to the 50 mark, and I'm drawing the line. My stop's going to be down in this 44 area, and I'm looking for a buy again. Buying on pulls to here or possible pivot breaks. Down here with stops just below, so you're kind of getting in at the basement, but you got to make sure you take those stops. Don't be in denial, okay? And then also buying on a breakout if it breaks out of this triangle. So you've got this expanding range here. Let me get the drawing tools out actually. Okay, I've taken the liberty to pause the video and draw these lines in here, so you have to sit here and watch me do it. But basically, it's this diamond formation where you've got an expanding range where you're clearing out people on the long side with this huge breach of these lows here. And then you're clearing people out on the short side on a break of the high. So you're making higher highs and higher lows, opposite to what an uptrend is, right? Lower lows and higher highs in this particular case, whereas an uptrend is higher highs and higher lows, and a downtrend is lower lows and lower highs. So this is kind of an in-between where you're getting higher highs and you're also getting lower lows. Well, then after this happens and you get a few iterations of this, what it does is starts to consolidate. So it's almost like a wedge. So you can see here, this bottom line here is a firm break, I think, below this red line. And I usually go down to the pivot point. So right here about 49.23. And I think this thing goes back lower and it takes out this low, okay? If it firmly falls below here. And if it breaks above this line here, and I would say, like I said, I go to the pivot right around 61, I think this thing goes and makes new highs. Okay, so what I'll do sometimes is if it comes down and toys with this area, is I'll buy and then I'll just pull the trigger and stop right in here, or I'll stop it down here, which is what I'm thinking. If this thing starts to fall apart, it's going to go ripping right through this area. So that's kind of my general approach. So right now I'm legging in the low 50s is what I've been building with a stop right under here at around 47.5. If it breaks below this low, with the concept of this breaking below here. And then obviously if it reverses or if it holds, you look for your setup and you get back on. But you got to take your stops, and that's where I'm at right now on this SQQQ. So if you can't go short, this is like going short, right? It's going long. You can buy these position in this, which is basically shorting the market. Okay. Hope that helps. So the question is, what are you buying if you can short in this environment? And so the concept of relative strength is really what helps pull ideas up to be investing in. You can kind of see where money is going rather than sitting in cash. I mean, a lot of it's going to cash. A lot of people are holding on for dear life, hoping that the market comes back. I have no plan whatsoever, and those are the people that are going to get taken to the cleaners if they haven't and already. And in fact, anyone who's held on, right, is down a considerable percentage in their net worth in their trading accounts if they've been holding through this entire thing. I mean, if you look at for a move from about 480, say 480 to 370, that's about a 23% haircut on these. And then you've got, of course, major things like Shopify. I mean, there's so many stocks that have been crushed so much more than this. Going from really a high of a 160 to 30 on this one it's very painful for a lot of people holding on to these. That's why you have to have stops. I pound the table. When I'm tweeting, I talk about it typically to the point of nausea for a lot of people. It's like, look, you've got to take your stops. No one has a crystal ball. Anything can happen, and so you need to know before you get into position where your line in the sand is going to be, where you're going to protect yourself, and where you're going to take profits too. Because if you continue to hold stuff forever, you will be given a profit. So you have to have a plan to sell into strength and a plan to sell when it's weak. So I can't pound the table enough. And if you want more information on that, I've got the TA course series of videos, the playlist on my channel here. Check it out. It kind of walks you through the whole thing, and you can just go to those videos that have that. And if you have more questions, just comment on the video. Ask me questions. I'm more than happy to help you with them, with those answers. All right, so two major things I want to talk about here, and then we'll talk about cryptos too. First off, what you're probably waiting for, what is relatively strong? What have I been buying? Okay, so other than the SQQQ, and shorting the market in general, getting out of all my swing longs that were long plays, nibbling here and there, trying to catch bottoms here and there, but getting out right away if things don't work out. I'm starting to build positions in some of these names. Eli Lilly, for example. On the gap down today, I actually bought this. Okay, and you can see here, it's really it's a high handle off of a cup that's happening on the daily chart, and you can see on the weekly chart we've been going higher, and it's up here near these highs, these very recent highs. And you know what the market's doing? Obviously, there's money going in here. People are putting money in here. I think this can continue. So like I said, nibbled into it on the gap down today. It turned out to be a great day, but I didn't sell. I'm holding, and I'm looking for a continuation to the top side. Another one, Crispr. This is one I owned way back in the day, sold, took profits on, have completely ignored it actually for many, many months, and then all of a sudden it started coming up on my scans. Well, look at what's happened here on the weekly if we go to the longer time frame. You see it's been in a downtrend like everything else. It's gone from 160 to about 50, so let's just say it took a 66% haircut actually, 2/3 of its value lost in about 9-10 months here. But now, all of a sudden, since about, May, it's been showing some strength. The volume's picking up. Let's go X-ray down to the daily chart here. You'll see the bottom was put in. You got solid moves up, volume supporting it. Drain out volume. Obviously, people, when it's this negative at times and you get an aggressive move down after it come up, it's like, oh, cash in, take your profits, get out. You're scaring out the weak hands. What happens? Pops back up. One more scare, right? Shake the card again. Volume picked up. Couldn't go lower. Okay? Again, couldn't go lower, higher lows, higher highs. Think this thing is definitely looking higher. Now, again, if it's in an uptrend, if it's starting an uptrend, it's in its infancy of that. But this, to me, based on what's going on in the market, is relative strength. Keep an eye on this bad boy. One that's not as strong, but in the same group, is this Intellia Therapeutics. Same thing, right? 180 to 40. Good God, what is that? That's 75% of its value, if I do my math in my head right. You got a bottom here, but again, volume picking up on the moves up. Not quite as severe of moves down as Crispr had. Another big ups, basing out here, looking like a good buy to the position above this high, up in this base. Now this is starting an uptrend. You can see the moving averages have crossed over. That doesn't mean this is going to continue. It could go up and then go right back down, and then we can continue down. Because actually, if you see here on the weekly chart, it's in an area where you should consider shorting it. So the time frames don't match up, but they never do when you're changing from a stage one type of basing consolidation end of a sell-off to like a stage two type of uptrend. Okay, so you're going to have these crossovers here, and you're going to be going into a sell zone on the higher time frame. So keep that in mind, and that's why you have stops. So you've got a base here. It's interesting. You know, definitely keep NTLA on your watch list. A few others that are strong. Merck. Look at the weekly chart on Merck. Okay, look what it's done this year as opposed to what the market's done. Okay, flagging here. You've got a cup and handle forming. You got higher lows, definitely stuff that we're a nice safe place to put your stops at if you get in this thing, if it breaks out. Merck should be considered as a long idea. Bristol Myers. Bristol Myers, again, in the weekly chart, look what it's done this year comparatively speaking. Here, you can see it did a breakout. Now, remember my diamond thing, right? Expanding highs, lower lows. Look for a tightening in this area. This day here, actually, it gapped down. So really the line in the sand for me is below this low, $73, let's say. If you can hold above 73, you can look to buy it in this area here for a move back up. Because in general, it's in a buy area on the weekly. On the daily chart, it's just going sideways. It's oscillating, shaking people off the tree both ways. But Bristol Myers here on the weekly time frame, if you're a longer term trader, if you like to hold positions for a quarter, 2 quarters, whatever, this is something definitely worth considering. Last one I want to share in this space is Vertex. Another one. Look at the weekly chart. Look at what it's done this year. Look at what it's doing on the daily chart. Uptrend, uptrend. Everything's an uptrend. You've got a high, you got a cup with a handle here on the weekly. Here's your handle. It tried to break out and is regressing back to the moving average. You know, if you're aggressive, you can nibble here at 285.86, stop 273, about a $12 stop. Okay, looking for moves higher. So Vertex is another one I'm watching very closely to be buying at this point in time. Now, the energy stocks have an interesting thing, right? They've been all in news, energy prices through the roof, inflation everywhere, and these have been getting kicked in the teeth. Look at this, just the XLE, which is the ETF, which is a basket of things. I mean, from 92 to 67. What is that? 77, 87, 20, $25 for 100. So that's about what, 30-ish%. Again, I'm doing this in my head really quick on the fly. 25, 30% decrease here in the last month on this, right? And now I'll even show you. I took a loss on this. So see this daily chart here? I bought this green bar here on this shakeout candle to go higher. Boy, I was looking happy good for a day and a half, and then it came down. I was like, okay, well, I'll see what happens. My stop is here. Held it. Now I'm underwater. Okay, bottoming tail. Hey, that looks positive. You get a bottoming tail doji bar, and you're coming back to the support area. Then on this day here, took out my stop. Guess what I did? Do you think I held on and just stuck my head in the sand? No, I just sold out. Okay, and then when it does this, you're thinking, oh crap, maybe I shouldn't have sold out. But like, no, I sold out, and I'm waiting for another position, another setup, if you will. So technically, it's hit, came down, hit, and it came down, and today it got down below this pivot. So this is the third time. So now I'm really interested in seeing if this thing can come. You can see the weekly chart, we've pulled back here to a buy area between the moving averages, actually in the 40 period here. Moving average is right hugging it. You've got support to the left. It might be time to buy these energy names. XL, let's just do the XOP. We won't go to we'll look at some specifics on the energy names. XOP, very similar, right, on the weekly chart. Same thing, double tap. One, stop out, another one. Didn't stop out today. Interesting. Okay, so as I'm writing this now on the 14th, I'm going to be watching the oils and the, some of the names. Oxy, in the news, Buffett's buying a grip of shares of this. Well, look at the weekly chart. Look at how this one's holding up better, right? This one's definitely one to consider long. Not because Buffett's on it, because the chart's telling you that it's strong. And my stop is I don't care who's buying this thing. If anyone's buying it. If it breaks below this pivot here or this area, you can see where my crosshairs is like the mid 52-ish range. I'm out. I'm outro. I'm in this though. Bought it in this area here, so I'm actually about break even, slightly up, and holding, and my stop is there. And that's all there is to it. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out. If I don't, then good. And if it starts to set up and starts to run, maybe sets up here again, I'll buy more at a higher price. But Oxy is one that's holding up really, really well compared to a lot of these in this group. A couple of big names: Chevron, ExxonMobil, right? ExxonMobil, very close to that XOP type of thing. Came down here. You've got a trigger, stop out, trigger, stop out. If you were buying the daily chart, it's holding though. You got support to the left. You got the rising movement on the weekly. From a longer term perspective, ExxonMobil might be time to be watching. It is time. I'm telling you right now, it is time to start watching closely for a setup for the long side, and I'm going to be taking my shots. Chevron's a little weaker, you can see, but same type of situation as a lot of these names. Okay, Devon's another one I like. Same situation, right? Holding the area here. Here's your hard line in the sand around $48.30, $48, just around the numbers. First major pullback after this big move up, and it's a doozy. Okay, but watch this for a setup if these energies start to come around. All right, last but certainly not least, let's talk about a few of the crypto names. Cryptos, unless you've been living under a rock, have been completely obliterated. And this is why, again, I know, give me the hate mail. You got to have stops, people. Okay, so this is the daily chart of Bitcoin against the U.S. dollar, and I'm just pulling it back here. You can see it topped out again, come back, and then we got a breakdown here, and now we're basing. And if you look to the left, it's at this support area. Okay, from way back. And if you think about remember the highs way back when we originally had this big run, it's topped out around 19,000. Well, guess what? It stopped right around there. I think that the bleeding has stopped. I think what I'm doing is I would love to see a flush out. I would love to see this thing go down to 10,000. In fact, I have orders, limit orders set in the low 10, 11, 12,000 range to catch it if maybe on a weekend things are light and things go down there. I want to pick it up for cheap, but I don't think we're going to go much lower than 10,000 at that point. Now that's a 50% haircut from where we are now, so I'm not buying with both hands here. Okay, nibbling with a stop underneath the 17,000 mark, absolutely. You can see we're going here. We're basing. We are clearly in a downtrend, and if it breaks out here above these highs, your first stop is going to be this previous resistance area here to the left around 30. So I think in the long run, these cryptos, I don't know which ones are going to be the kings or the queens of the crypto world, but I think they are a good alternative to fiat currency and getting out of the fiat. I don't know what's going to happen with inflation. My thoughts are in general that I hope it doesn't happen, but I think there's a distinct chance that we may experience some hyperinflation. In fact, if it does happen, I think it's going to happen overseas first, Europe, some of those other countries where they're a little more cavalier, it seems, with the interest rates and with the printing money and calling it something else and giving it to the government to spend on programs and basically diluting the value of everyone else's fiat money. Monopoly money, if you will, is all it is. So we're doing it in the U.S. too, but right now we're talking a strong game from the Fed, it sounds like, around raising interest rates. And from all the research I've done, my hope is that they keep increasing interest rates until the inflation problem gets fixed and they stop spending. Now, the interest rates, I don't know if those go hand in hand, but the bottom line is for me that I'd rather have a market completely go into recession than experience hyperinflation. And something that Zimbabwe, for one, went through. And you can buy some books, just Google it. I just finished a book that's actually giving me nightmares on the Zimbabwe, what transpired in Zimbabwe from 1998 to 2008. And it's funny because I was an adult during those times. In fact, I was trading during those times, and it was completely off my radar. So I don't know if the media just didn't report on it or if I wasn't looking in the right places, but it's interesting to me that I knew nothing about that until I started researching it, and what I read was frightening. So, long story short, getting off my soapbox for alternative ways of maintaining your wealth, but I think cryptos is definitely something that you should not go all in on, but you should have a piece. You should have a piece, but again, talk to your personal financial advisor. I'm sure they're very smart, probably much smarter than I am. I'm just a chartist, and I do this for fun and for an income. I'm going to go ahead and expand my screen here. So a couple of few ones I want to share with you that are my favorite. Atom Cosmos is another one that's showing some decent strength here. If you compare it to, say, Cardano, look at that chart. Remember that chart right there? Let's let this come up here for Cardano. Notice the weakness Cardano has compared to Cosmos, which is Atom. So I'm interesting. I'm a big Cardano fan. I think Cardano goes higher eventually, but it too, like everything else, has been crushed. If I bring the chart back, you'll see. But is it bottoming? I don't know. Do you want to take a shot? Absolutely. I just took a shot. I'm buying pieces here, and I got stops below, so I just get out for small losses if, in fact, it doesn't work out. Let's see. So Bitcoin, Cardano, Atom. Other ones I think people should consider is Polkadot. You'll see here Polkadot actually peaked out below the lows and is also trying to bounce. I mean, the charts are pretty much just a broken record. Everything is crushed. And what happens here, what I found being in the crypto world for a while, is relative strength doesn't seem to be as important as it is, or as, let's say, reliable as it is in the stock world. So keep that in mind. So Atom, as I showed you, is showing relative strength, in my opinion, on that daily chart. That doesn't mean it's going to go up. But for me, it just makes me want to watch it closely. Ethereum obviously is another big one with Bitcoin. It too has been absolutely crushed. You can see here it's bouncing right now as of today off these lows. So those are ones. Let's see, DOT, Ethereum. Let me share with you a few more that I like, and I would suggest you just follow and look for a way to get in. Polygon and Mana, Decentraland, are two others that I like to watch closely. Here is Matic. Okay, so Matic is looking basically, if you look at here, like an inverse head and shoulders, right? There's your shoulder and shoulder. You really don't have much of a left shoulder here, but you've got the head and you've got a shoulder. And it looks like it's fixed. This one actually looks really strong. This looks like it's fixing to break about the 75-cent mark. And then you look for a double. You look for a move to the 140. So that's not small potato. Now, do keep that in mind, though, that these are thinner in a lot of cases. There's not a lot of volume. So if you buy a boatload of Matic, the chances of you being able to get out of it in one shot are slim, if even possible at all. So keep that in mind. So nibble, and I think these are definitely highly volatile instruments, and so caution. If anything, whatever your financial investment size is, say you invest $10,000 per stock that you buy, or $10,000 for crypto, I would lessen it based on the volume, just because you don't want to be stuck in the old Roach Motel where you can get in but you can't get out. There's Mana. Let me just give you a couple other names here in case you want to track them. The ones that I like watching really closely. I know there's one down here in the high. Oh yeah, obviously Stellar and Tezos are two other ones that I think that should be watched. This Zill Horizon, was it Horizon? Let me take a look at Horizon. I think it was either Horizon or Zill, are another one that I'm kind of watching. Let's see what happens here with Zen. Yeah, it's really thin though, but it too is seeming like it wants to bottom. Of course, these have all been seeming like they've wanted to bottom for the last 8 months, and then they keep falling lower. So gotta have stops. But at some point, I think these are going to go. And once we get more clarity around if the interest rates keep going, and once the perception of the dollar goes down, because if they still keep spending, I think it's just going to be a matter of time before the dollar really starts to collapse. And then the value of the value of your houses, not that you're going to be able to sell anything, because if hyperinflation hits, it's kind of everything's out the window. But even cars and hard assets, gold, silver will start rocking. Gold and silver have been getting crushed too. Okay, so let's take a look there real quick. All right, I pulled up platinum. Platinum, you can see, has been getting crushed here. Weekly chart, we are at lows. We are in a downtrend. Okay. So keep an eye on these, though. I think when and if this inflation doesn't get abated by what they're doing, and it gets to a point where the market gets crushed so much that they stop doing what they're doing and they go the other way and start reducing to help the market, these are going to go through the freaking roof. So GLD, another one's been crushed. You can see here, new high, turns right around to a new low, a giant tornadic formation. Let's look at GDX. I think silver's been getting hammered too. Yeah, GDX, look at this, absolutely hammered. But climactic type volume on this doji, right on the daily chart. we could be getting a point where we're going to get a bounce. You know, the old dead cat bounce. And you can, if you're a trader, if you're a 2, 3, 4 day trader, you can look to try to get something like this on these climactic type setups. Yeah, silver's getting hammered just like the others. JNUG is a triple leveraged, yep, 3 times bull ETF on the gold miners. It too obviously has been getting hammered and can pop. So keep these all in mind, okay? So anyway, long story short, I'm seeing some of those medical names, biotech names are looking good and strong. In general, I'm thinking more downside in the market. Also, I'm thinking that, you know, we could have, if the cycle plays out like I'm going to see, is they're going to continue to raise rates. It's going to crush the market, and there's going to be a tipping point where they're going to go, okay, enough's enough. Let's stop raising interest rates, and then I think there's going to be a shift, and then you're going to want to start buying stocks, and you're going to want to start buying because your stocks are going to go up in value if the dollar goes to crap too, and you're going to start wanting to buy those small hard assets, gold, silver, and cryptos. And I don't know when that is: 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months from now, 2 years from now. It takes a while for these things to play out, but right now I think there's more downside in the market. Hope you found this useful. As always, hit me up, comment on the video. And good trading, you guys. Stay safe and honor your stops and your target profit locations.